You to the Town of Ossining work session for January 5th, 2016. We have just come out of executive session to discuss personnel and legal advice, and we will now begin the rest of our work session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now I had a few comments that I'd like to open up the evening with. First, I want to thank the entire community, Ossining and Briarcliff community, for your support. I'm so excited to be working with this new board, and Karen Dottori and Liz Feldman are brand new to the board. I'm looking forward to working with the institutional knowledge of Northern Wiltshire and Kim Jeffrey, who have been serving us very well for many years, few years in some cases, very, very committed to this town. And I know that you bring great strengths already to our community, and I look forward to continuing to work with you moving forward. I'm so proud to also to be working with all the town employees and the village staff who serve the town as well. I feel like we have a bright, energetic, committed group of people who work for the best for, in all of us and for all of us. At our inauguration, it was a fantastic community event on January 1st at the library, and I thought it really showcased all that I believe Ossining stands for: our spirit, our talent, our diversity, and our teamwork. The theme of my speech was Ossining Represent, which was about standing up for what is right and good about Ossining and making sure that we put forth our best commitment, that I will put forth my best to represent the people, and that we tap into the best in each and every one of our community members for our collective success. I invite everybody to please take a look at the ceremony on the town and village YouTube pages. In a day or two, it should be posted. We're also working to gather a list of all of the dishes that our local food purveyors provided for our reception, free of charge. It was wonderful in the art gallery at the Ossining Public Library, and we're very grateful to the library for having opened up their doors for this event. Maddie sits on the library board, and we're grateful to the library board for having agreed to host this event. So thank you. It was such a proud moment that we were actually able to feed our public with signature dishes from many of our local eateries, and we are hoping to post all of those dishes on the website and invite everyone to go taste some more and say thank you to all of those businesses that participated. I'm truly excited about our team. I'm excited to work with our public and our community organizations to strut our stuff and continue to celebrate and make the best of all we have here to lead us forward sustainably, responsibly, fiscally, and otherwise, and positively to represent. So tonight's work session, we are preparing for our reorganization meeting next Tuesday, January 12th. I'm very happy to introduce our soon-to-be newly retained law firm, Silverberg and Zelantis, and Steve Silverberg is going to be taking the lead on many of the issues on our agenda this evening, taking us through the items so that we, the newbies on the board here, Liz and Karen and I, can all really feel very strongly going into our January 12th reorganization meeting, and you guys also feel comfortable and confident that we're moving forward to a great start to our year. So again, thanks everybody for being here, and we're going to start with the first item on the agenda, which is our contract for legal services. We feel that this is going to be fiscally beneficial, and also we're very much looking forward to the depth of expertise in municipal law that Silverberg and Zelantis have, as well as their experience with land use. I don't know if Steve, if you want to, I should have had your resume, and I don't have your resume in front of us, but it's lengthy. You have a great website, and you have been blogging about I think land use for a long time, and you have a great perspective. You have a lot of municipal experience in other communities. Right now, you also represent the village of Tarrytown, and you also had been sitting on the board as a council member for, or a village trustee for Piermont. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about some of your experience just for our community. We'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Just let me, I'll try not to be too long. But I've been doing this, personally I've been doing this for 40 years. I started out as a deputy attorney in the town of Greenburgh. I worked as the town attorney in the town of Mamaroneck for about 12 years. We've done work for other municipalities over the years, and currently our firm, as you mentioned, the village attorneys in Tarrytown. We're also the village attorneys for the village of New Hempstead in Rockland County. We're the planning and zoning attorneys for the town of Haverstraw in Rockland County, and we also are special counsel to the city of Mount Vernon on various land use projects, and especially seeker issues that are of concern when you're looking at large projects. Actually sitting next to me is Christy Tomadonna, who's our associate, who'll be working with the zoning board. My partner Kathy Zelantis will be working with the planning board primarily. And as you said, I'll be sitting with your board. So I think that's probably enough not to put people to sleep.
And we're really looking forward to, again, having that expertise and helping guide us to make sure that we always are representing the public to the best of our ability and making sure that we are responsible. So we're looking forward to that contract being approved at our first meeting. And then there are a couple of laws that we want to make sure are in place also to make that a smooth transition for us, because we will not be appointing a town attorney as we have in the past. And although I don't believe that there's anything that requires it specifically in our town code, we want to just make sure that we are clear in how we phrase it, so that we are, always very, very much in the right in terms of our legal responsibilities. So do you want to talk at all about local law 1 and 2 that we plan to have public hearings at our January 12th meeting?
Sure. Basically, one of the things that you'll be doing at the organizational meeting is passing a resolution abolishing the position of town attorney, which you're allowed to do under law. But there are a number of references in your town code to actions to be taken by the town attorney or approved by the town attorney. So what we did is, rather than doing 13 or 14 amendments to the code in various places, we proposed a very simple local law that essentially says that any place the code refers to the town attorney, it means the firm or attorney that is retained by the town to handle the general legal services for the town. So it's very simple, straightforward, and it avoids having to go through a whole bunch of amendments in the law. The second one, second local law, you already have provision in your code for collection of consultants' fees for doing work for review of planning board applications. And it's probably broad enough to cover attorney's fees, but since it hasn't been the practice in the past to collect attorney's fees for that work, and our agreement that we proposed with you is that the review of the planning board work would be charged separately as part of the escrow that's collected from applicants, which is done in many communities, and we do in a number of communities as well. So just for clarification purposes, the second law just sets forth a definition of consultants and lists a whole category of planners, engineers, architects, landscape architects, surveyor, attorney, and other professionals retained by the town. Again, a simple local law just to make that clear, so especially since it's not consistent with what the practice has been in the past.
And just because you'd shared it with me, you said you took a recent look at what some of the chargebacks to some of those applicants were, and I just wonder if you could sort of just, off the top of your head, your past month, what you were billing back.
Well, again, I know some people are concerned that there's going to be huge, and there was, for example, one matter which was a significant amount of time, and our bill was about $1,000. But there were other bills that were, I think one was $42 and another was something like $75 or $80. So we try not to get crazy. We respect the fact that this is people's hard-earned money, and that while we have to do a job, we'll be respectful of the way we charge for it.
Did anybody have any comments or questions or anything that they want to discuss with, I realized that I skipped over asking for anybody's feedback on one. So let's just see if anybody has anything on either items 1, 2, or 3. They're all kind of related again to our new relationship movement. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have my mic on. Our new relationship moving forward. If anybody has any questions, anything that they want to add, discuss for any of the top 3, 1, 2, or 3 items on the agenda.
No, very straightforward, understood.
All right, fantastic. So we're good to move to item 4. So item 4, Sustainable Westchester, the community choice aggregation. This is something that the previous board had worked very hard with Sustainable Westchester. That is a consortium of municipalities that's working together basically to be able to offer to the public reduced price utilities, specifically for gas and electric. And one of the things that we had that the previous board had done is passed a resolution allowing the town supervisor to sign some sort of agreement that would be approved going forward to allow a request for a proposal to go out and to get the best price on gas and electric that can then be offered back out to our community. So again, I'm going to turn to our legal counsel and Steve about this to see if you could just share a little bit about what's been going on with Sustainable Westchester and some of the communities.
Right. There are, I believe, 23 communities involved. And Sustainable Westchester had a conference call about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was on it because I was representing Tarrytown, so I'm familiar with what's happening. And the issue was that when Sustainable Westchester goes out for these bids, they need to lock them in very quickly after they get a response. And they were concerned that with 23 communities, they wouldn't be able to have signed agreements in hand that they could just deliver to accept a bid, which is only good for a certain very short period of time. And so what some of us had suggested was that they do a memorandum of understanding that would allow delivery of the contract provided certain criteria were met. And we've gone back and forth with this several times. We got the last version about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and the proposal in this memorandum of understanding is essentially to track about 99.9% of what was adopted in a prior resolution by your board as far as what's being defined as a compliant bid, a bid that meets certain criteria that were in the resolution and the local law that were previously adopted by the board back in October. The only concern was that the resolution adopted in October talked about one of the criteria being that the price for electricity would be at a certain level in relation to the average price for the preceding 12-month period. And we discovered in our discussions with them that they intend to go out to bid in mid to late January. They expect the responses in February, but the pricing for January actually won't be available until sometime in March. So that technically the way the resolutions were drafted back a few months ago, you could interpret it as not having the preceding 12 months available in order to figure out the averages. So what we came up with was a proposal that we would define the preceding 12 months for the purposes of this MOU as the 12-month period for which the information is available, which would essentially be calendar year 2015. I think with that change, the MOU as proposed meets the criteria of the original resolution, so it could be signed by the supervisor. There will be ultimately a more detailed contract that's attached to it for purposes of delivery of the actual terms of the bid. That contract is still being gone over, but will be a schedule or an exhibit to the MOU, which says you can deliver this contract if you obtain a compliant bid. So I don't think there's any further action has to be taken by the board. It can be operated in this context based upon the prior resolution of the board.
Anybody on the board have any questions? I know there's been a lot of talk, but this is once, in my personal opinion, I got very involved in this when I was. In my personal opinion, I got very involved in this when I was working in Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff's office, and this was something that the state was looking to sort of put out there. And in some ways, I think this is kind of like a pilot that's happening, and really Sustainable Westchester and some of the leadership there has taken the lead on this, and it's going to be something that's really very special that's offered to our community. So I'm really grateful to Steve that you've been so involved in this, even without being working for the town of Ossining, because you're deeply entrenched in all of the legal back and forth, and I feel like we're very well represented already, and that you've taken a hard look at what the language is to make sure that we're that the communities are well represented also and well protected. So I'm looking forward to being able to sign off on the MOU when the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and we're ready to go. So thank you for that, and appreciate the explanation.
You're welcome.
All right, so next what we'd like to do is maybe just take a look. Again, this was something, Steve, that you had suggested that we kind of go over, and I thought that was a great idea, to review our reorganizational meeting agenda and make sure that there isn't anything on there that's going to be cumbersome, that we know, somebody's going to move and somebody else is going to second the various resolutions that need to be passed, and we want to review some of the appointments so that we know who would like to be liaison for which of the committees and or municipalities and all the other types of things that we have on there. So, I mean, we can just kind of go through and hopefully, we don't want to take all the time to read each and every one, which is going to take place next week, but just kind of review what's going to be happening. And then if there are any questions, suggestions, opinions, this is a great time to talk about them. Is there anything that you wanted to say leading into this in terms of suggestions?
Not really. I just thought it made sense to go over it, especially since there are three new board members. And it's some of it's a little bit arcane, but it's required by law that these various designations be done. And I thought rather than doing it at the regular meeting, if there were any questions or issues, we could discuss it at the work session, so that otherwise this could be a 5-hour meeting if you start talking about everything on the reorg agenda.
Absolutely. All righty. So obviously we'll have a roll call, and then there's an opportunity to make announcements. Anybody can and should make any that they have. We're not going to talk about those tonight, but if there is public comment on agenda items, that will be an opportunity for anybody in the audience to comment on any of the things that are on our agenda. So that would be what would be happening next. We'll open it up for public comment. I anticipate we will be getting some about some of these appointments. So our number 4 on our agenda is appointments. And I would like to appoint Kim Jeffrey as our deputy supervisor. So it would be great. I think, this is a good question. Will I make that motion?
It's the supervisor's designation.
So it's just a designation. It's not we don't have to move in second for appointments. Okay. All right. So hopefully I have everybody's support on that, and well wishes to Kim to be in that role. I'm looking forward to it. Is that, we're good with that?
I'm good with it.
Okay, fantastic. And then we're going to go, and then we have our Deputy Receiver of Taxes, Julie Davis, who's been working in the receiver's office for some time. I'm not sure exactly how long, has in the past and will continue to be unless there's any objections. Hearing none. We've loosely discussed, had some back and forth, people suggesting what they might be interested in for the liaison appointments. As supervisor, I am de facto on all the committees, so I guess I have first right of refusal. And I'm also appointed Historic Hudson River Towns, the Intermunicipal Leadership Committee, which involves the town, the village, the library, our police, and a variety of other organizations. I think they meet about every 6 to 8 weeks. Westchester Municipal Officials Association, and then Ossining Communities That Care. I'm happy to continue that unless there's somebody else that wants that role. I know that's just traditionally been with the supervisor. I think at one point the supervisor was co-chair of that committee. I was actually on the founding committee of Communities That Care, so happy to be back and involved unless anybody wants to be involved in that one. Okay. Going forward, Karen, you expressed interest in being a liaison to Westchester County, the Village of Ossining, IFCA, where you serve as executive director, and New York State. Good with all of those? Awesome. Liz, and I'm calling everybody by their first names. Would you prefer that I refer to you all by council member, or do you like first names? We can talk about that, whatever you prefer.
I like Northern.
You like Northern? Okay. I also want to just make an announcement, is I really don't like Madam Supervisor. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't like the word madam. And I think if you were a man and you were sitting here, nobody would be saying madam.
No one would
So
say madam if you were a man.
if you were a man, and nobody would say even Mr. Nobody's saying Mr. Supervisor.
Supervisor.
Okay, so you can call me supervisor if you'd like. I'm also fine with Dana. I really don't have any problem with that. I just want to let you know. You know what? If we want to work together, you can call me whatever you like. And
In a nice way.
in a nice way, I'm sure I'll be
nice
called
thing.
many things. I just want to let you know that. Okay. So anyhow, let's continue on. Should I try Councilwoman Feldman or
Liz is fine.
Liz? Okay, we'll go for Liz.
I'm fine. I'll answer anything but late for dinner.
All right. Okay, so Green Ossining Committee.
Yes,
Fantastic. OVAC,
yes.
the Ossining and Briarcliff Manor Fire Departments,
Great institutions.
Ossining Historical Society,
Happy to work with them.
the Ossining Boat, and if anybody wants to be a co on any of these,
Yeah,
so if for some reason Councilwoman Feldman cannot actually be there at one of those meetings, could you please give a shout out while we're going through these? Karen, I don't know if you want to be co on Historical Society. Is that something that you sort of vaguely expressed an interest in adding? You're good with what you have?
That would be fine.
Okay.
I'd,
All right.
I'd like to
So we'll
co the fire department.
Okay, Historical Society for Karen, and then we'll add co-fire departments for Councilwoman Jeffrey. Okay. Co-fire departments. Okay. So going down the list, the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put Councilman Wiltshire on co for Boat and Canoe Club, since you'd been, can we put you for co for that?
Okay.
All right, fine, we'll put you for co for that.
Bumping me off right now?
Co-OBCC, okay, and then the Ossining Water Department,
Yes.
and you'd like to be co on that, okay, so I think we got co-water department, okay, great. Okay, moving down, Councilwoman Jeffrey, we have Deputy Supervisor, we know, the IMA Committee, which is to review the intermunicipal agreements we have with our various municipalities, mostly just one. The Recreation Advisory Board. There's been a Business Development Committee that had been established that has not been particularly active. We're hoping that we can have an opportunity to reactivate it. And Councilwoman Jeffrey, would you like to continue that?
Sure.
All right.
Before you go further, who's on the Recreation Advisory Board?
That was.
Me, do you want
Did
it?
you want
You
No,
can have
no,
it.
no, I'm fine.
You can have
Are
it.
you sure?
You
Cause,
can have it.
No, I was
It used to
wondering.
be Jeff.
I know, it used to be Jeff.
Do you want it?
No, thank you.
You,
I'm fine.
you know, we're trying to give you stuff.
I noticed.
Do you want to be co? You want to be co?
We don't want you to feel,
Do
you
you want to
know,
be co
like,
on that in case
you know,
Kim
you
can't
need
show
more.
up?
Kim, do you want me to be
Yeah, I'll be cold.
He'll be co.
Okay.
There you
All right.
go.
All right. So rec advisory board. Okay, great. And then we have school districts.
Yes.
Okay. And we're back to Councilwoman Jeffrey, liaison to the Highway Department, Village of Briarcliff Manor, and we have the school districts twice, that goes away. And then we have the co on the Water Department and co on the Fire Departments.
Correct.
Okay. And for Councilman Wiltshire, we have Dale and Sparta Cemeteries, Austin and Briarcliff Manor Chambers of Commerce, Teton Lake Reservation, and then co for the Boat and Canoe Club and co for the Rec Advisory Board. We good to go on all those?
We filled you up a little bit more,
Yeah, we had a
Mr.
little.
Wiltshire.
We didn't want to look
Yeah, I
empty.
noticed.
Okay. Good? All right. And following that, we have listed here something that we're not going to have on here for number 3. We're going to be probably appointing a special counsel for to serve for language help, language help.
To serve as prosecutor and tax certiorari counsel.
Thank you. Prosecutor, town prosecutor, and tax certiorari counsel. And that has yet to be announced. We have our budget officer, personnel director, and aide to the supervisor. I'm very much looking forward to reappointing Maddie Zahat. Madeline. Okay.
I didn't know it was Madeline. No.
All right.
That's it now.
We have our Justice Court Town Constables, and these are reappointments, Carlos Castro and Alan Gantz. We announce all these names? I'm not sure. I think they get all announced. Okay. Our Justice Court attendants, and you can see them all listed there. We're good with everybody basically getting reappointed. Because there were openings on the planning board and the zoning board, we had an opportunity to meet with some folks who were interested in getting reappointed and or appointed for openings that were not being reapplied for. And we are recommending that Greg McWilliams be reappointed, Mark Hofflick to the planning board, and Mark Hofflick, who had actually served on the architectural review board committee,
Yes.
which is now kind of been absorbed into the planning board, was interested, and he put in a lot of work on that committee. He was interested in now serving on the planning board because a position opened up. Somebody who had been on the planning board for many years decided he was not seeking reappointment, and we'd like to recommend Mark. For the Zoning Board of Appeals, we met with the sitting chair, Sal Carrera. He's interested in continuing to serve as chair. We believe he has done a great job, so we'd like to recommend him for reappointment to that position for 5 years. And then Jim Blair has served for a number of years also. We met with him as well and think that he also has a lot to bring to the table, and we would like to recommend him again for reappointment. Is there any discussion about any of those appointments? If not, we'll skip to number 5, which are annual resolutions. We would like to recommend that we continue designating the Gazette as the official newspaper, and that we also designate the Journal News as alternate, because we have, sometimes are not able to get into the weekly in time for a sufficient notice, especially because we have longer notice periods now. Sometimes 10 days doesn't jive with that week, so we'd like to have those two papers on record. Our town council monthly meeting schedule, we're planning to keep it the same schedule, which would be regular town board meeting second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. At the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility at 8688 Spring Street, and our work sessions will be the first and third Tuesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. here at 16 Croton Avenue in the boardroom. We would like to also recommend that the legislative session scheduled for Tuesday, October 11th, be moved to a 9 a.m. meeting in observance of Yom Kippur. We looked at the week schedule. Unfortunately, Monday of that week is Columbus Day, and then the Wednesday is actually also Yom Kippur. The legislative session, and so we'd like to have a morning meeting to make sure that we can take care of all our business that week and not miss the meeting. The legislative session scheduled for Tuesday, November 8th will be moved to Wednesday, November 9th due to Election Day. And are there any comments, questions about any of the schedule calendar?
I have a question. Town hall meetings?
Oh, town hall meetings we haven't yet scheduled, but we are hoping to do that in keeping with the past
Every 6 weeks or so?
every 6 weeks. And
In lieu of whatever meeting it was supposed to be?
It'll always be in lieu of a work session.
In lieu of a work session?
okay, and the fifth, if there is a fifth Tuesday in a month, it would be at our discretion to schedule a meeting. Right now, we don't have any plans, but if we should need them, then we would ask that you know that we may have to take advantage of that, but we're
And
not.
Northern and I often we threaten not to show up.
You will threaten not to show up.
But
Okay.
Northern is the first one to
Okay,
threaten not to show
we will.
up.
We are going to do our best to give everybody a break on that fifth Tuesday and allow for Tuesday frolic. Okay. Our town office hours are going to continue to be Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. We would like to recommend that Martha Masidi continue as our town historian. I think she's doing a great job. She's got a great background, and she's knows lots and lots and lots about Ossining. She's also a research librarian, and we feel like she has the experience, knowledge, and expertise to continue to serve us well and maybe take even further advantage of her in that role. The mileage allowance is not changing, I don't believe. Oh, it's gone down a bit. Okay. So if anybody is putting in for mileage, it's now 54 cents a mile. In accordance with IRS standards. Our membership in the Association of Towns continues. I think it's at the same rate as it has been in the past. The authorization for attendance at Association of Towns meetings. Wow, I somehow skipped over this. Basically, anybody, when we pay that fee, is allowed and encouraged to attend the Association of Towns meetings. But that's not what this is about. This is about the annual meeting in February that's going to be taking place in New York City. And everybody's encouraged to go to that as well. Okay. So, and anybody is authorized to attend that. That's on this list here, and it's a long list, including chairman and members of the planning board and chairman and members of the environmental advisory board and members of the zoning board, and all of us that are sitting at this table, as well as the other folks listed there. And I will be appointed as the delegate to that meeting for voting purposes. And Maddie Zahach, who's now listed as Maddie and not Madeline anymore in this particular resolution, as the budget officer, will be appointed as the alternate delegate. Everybody good with that? Mm-hmm. Anybody else planning to attend and they want to?
Plan to attend,
I
not
might-
necessarily feeling these have to vote.
Okay.
I might be going too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody can go. It's a great opportunity, in my opinion, to go to these, especially when they're in the city and we don't have to pay for overnight expenses. So that's also nice. The SPCA is going to be listed. His authorized and directed to execute for humane procedures for homeless and stray dogs and cats. That's continuation. We're going to renew our dental insurance program.
Hold on, how much do we pay for that, Maddie, by the way?
For which?
The,
SBC?
yeah.
It went up a little bit this year. It's about $1,100 a year.
Uh,
Oh, excuse me, $11,000.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, no.
and that, remind me again, what it,
We're gonna ask Shannon, who's the director of the SBCA, to come to a work session and.
Yeah, yeah,
revisit
yeah.
that.
And
It's
they
a question
did, but
that
I-
seems to come up pretty regularly.
and I was here and I still can't remember. Sorry.
Okay.
That's because she didn't say a whole lot. I was here too.
All right. Maybe we can get in touch with her before next week and just identify what the, what that,
We're paying
what we're actually
$11,000 a year for.
appointing them to do.
Yeah.
Our dental insurance program rates are listed here. Refuse and recycle collection, this is not correct here still, that's right? It's gonna be, it's Suburban.
It's the same company, they're doing business as Suburban Car.
Oh, got it. Oh,
in
okay.
Santa Fe.
Gotcha, okay, I didn't realize that, okay. Okay, so it's, Sandy Pro is whatever, Suburban Carding, right. And then we have approval of the compensation plan, which you can all see is listed here. I'm not gonna take us through everything unless there's anything anybody specifically has a question about or a concern that's listed in some way that it shouldn't be or something that we're missing. Looking to you, council, if there's anything that you think that we should have on there that isn't on there, please let me know.
I think this is the list that you've been using for years, so
Okay,
I'm not going to suggest any change at this point.
okay. We don't have on here any of the council positions, because these are positions, right? So we wouldn't have, for example, the outside,
Yeah, these are just town employees.
Oh, you're talking about you're talking about, yeah, these are employees, so
Right.
the consultants wouldn't be listed.
okay.
Although I think there's one really important consultant that's not listed as I'm going through it, which is our firm, so I don't know if you,
Okay, so where's that gonna go on here?
That's going to be,
Sure.
we could put it in this section.
are you going to do it in the regular meeting?
Yeah, or we can do it in it'll be the last page, regular meeting board resolutions.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because you have to abolish the position of town attorney first. So I think that's the appropriate way to do it.
Oh, no.
What?
We don't, okay, I can skip through them. I'm not gonna go through them all. Okay, well, I'm gonna ask for help on that. So, election officials, we have, people that we appoint for that. Surety bonds, any explanation for any of these, help? Or
Yeah.
do you wanna
Well,
just
I
take
mean,
us
if
through
there's a
quick
question about that,
description?
yeah, basically, you're required to have surety bonds for various officers, because you're handling money or whatever, so that's the purpose of it.
Okay. And I'm just trying to see. Who actually does cover that? Is that, we don't list who covers us for the surety bond.
The surety bond.
Oh, that's just, we just go out for a bond for that? That's,
There is some that's covered by NYMER.
okay,
And then for the receiver of taxes, she has her own specific, the name of the company escapes me, but she has one that's all her own.
okay. And that doesn't need to be listed in here.
We can if you'd like.
She has her house is bonded, I guess, the receipt of taxes, so it's, I think she's well covered.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I don't know if it's necessary to list in there who's covering or just that it is covered. Is that fine the way it is? It hasn't been a problem in the past?
Yeah, I think it's fine, because again, it says whoever is required by law shall be covered by it, and you have a blanket bond, so obviously, when the bond is set, they go through the list of who has to be covered, make sure they're named.
Okay. Okay, great. So then consulting engineer, we have an IMA for that, our planning consultants. We wanted to just figure out, Maddie, what our contract is currently in terms of,
Planning
Yeah, what,
for the year,
but is it January to January? Is it, what is,
January 1st to December 31st.
it is, okay. Okay, and, our bond council we're planning to continue with. I spoke with our,
Just, excuse me, I'm sorry, on the consulting planners, I see it refers to a letter and rate schedule of December 28th, 2015, so they gave you a new one? Okay.
and I guess we also received fees from also Oric Harrington for bond council. Same thing, we have a letter from them. Resolve the, okay, and then we have the schedule of fees, and I think that there was a question about and/or need to add a few that are not currently listed here.
Yeah, it's unchanged since you adopted it at the beginning of 2015, or since the board did, I should say. I know that we've had at least one department head who said that he might recommend changing one of them, but he hasn't in an official way said what he would like to change it to. And so I know Councilwoman Jeffrey had said that she would be interested in talking to all the department heads this year about some of the ones that she and the rest of the board have questions about to see if maybe they need to be adjusted up or down, or at least provide an explanation for why they're where they are.
Okay, so we'll just,
Well, yeah, can I suggest then, because the wording of the resolution is that hereby approves the following schedule of fees for calendar year 2016, maybe if you're considering making changes during the year, maybe add to that or earlier amended, or amended at an earlier date, or something that doesn't quite sound as legalese. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to, I think, we're going to just skip through the fee schedule unless there's anything that anybody saw that they had a particular issue with. Otherwise, the fees are more or less unchanged from last year, and with a couple of potential amendments and additions between now and next week.
I want to mention also that it's not in here yet because we didn't have to do this in 2015, but we're going to be asking the board to adopt the Dale Cemetery fee schedule as well. It's a different fee schedule.
Okay, that was the one I meant. Okay. And then, so we're going to skip to the our records management officer, which is our town clerk. Appointment of marriage officers. I'm very excited to know that I get to be appointed to become a marriage officer within the town. Our finance investment policy is listed here. Setting out the scope, the objectives, delegation of authority, prudence, diversification, our internal controls, our designation of depositories. There are 5 different banks that are designated depositories, and then collateralization of deposits, safekeeping and collateralization, permitted investments, authorized financial institutions and dealers, purchase of investments, and repurchase agreements. And I just wasn't 100% sure, and I don't know, I think we didn't determine the answer quite yet, but the schedule of eligible securities, why there are 3 out of 10 that are checked. But we can double check again with our controller to make sure that that's accurate. And if anybody has an opinion or a concern about that, let me know. Our finance and debt management policy, giving the comptroller the authority to monitor the debt portfolio annually for refinancing opportunities. So we're always looking to find the best possible deals that we can on our debt. And our finance procurement policy. I think I lost track of the letters here. It goes from T to U somehow. Yeah, okay, that's good, right? We're good. Good with the alphabet. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Finance procurement policy. Okay, and that's all right. general law requires the governing body of every municipality to adopt a procurement policy for goods and services. So that's what we're going to be doing here, which involves purchases up to $999 being authorized without basically getting any bids. And then there are purchases between $1,000 and $10,000. There are procedures that a purchase order has to be issued, and various other procedures, and that we have for $1,000 to $3,000, 2 verbal quotations are required, 3 written quotations are required for purchases between $3,000 and $10,000, and I'm going to skip ahead to public works contracts over $10,000 must follow procedures to obtain 3 written quotes, and a public works contract over $30,000 is subject to competitive bidding.
Yeah, and I want to check that because I think it's 35 now, but I have to double check the statute.
All right.
The town had actually said that they didn't want to put it to the limit. They wanted to keep it capped a little bit lower than was allowed. Yeah.
Okay. And general provisions. Anybody want to comment on these? They're lengthy.
People, they can read them.
Oh, possible
Because it's gonna be
purchases?
on-
Yeah, okay.
They can read them online.
Is there anything, Steve, that you want to highlight in any of these?
Keep forgetting to put this in. No, I think it's fairly standard. I assume that these are, procedures that you've had in effect for a long time. They essentially track the statutes. And it's just good to spell them out so that everybody understands what the rules are.
All right, well, and our town clerk will be reading through each and every one of these in detail, and they will also be posted on our webpage. All right, so I'm going to just skip down to, what am I skipping down to? Do I know? Our regular meeting board resolutions, that will follow, and we will have a few, including, where do our local laws go?
They'll go in
And-
that section there.
And we have to have a public hearing?
Right, the public hearings, and those were noticed, correct, Maddie?
They were noticed.
Right.
It occurs to me now that since we called for a public hearing to happen on the 12th, the public hearings will actually be before all of this.
Okay, so that's what, okay.
So we're going to start with our public hearings
Right.
on those local laws, which are the ones that we discussed earlier, and that'll be at the beginning, and then we can have the public hearing before we have the reorganization meeting?
I believe public hearings always have to be first. We can check with the town clerk, but I think they always have to go first.
Okay, because we're not officially organized until that meeting, so I'm just asking the question. I don't really know
Yeah,
what's,
I mean, they're called for the time that the meeting starts.
7:30 and 7:35.
Right. I think it's really your prerogative. If there's a lot of people here who may want to comment on it, then you may want to do it at the beginning to give them the ability to speak and not necessarily go through all of this. If there aren't, you might want to do the reorganizational matters, and then at the beginning of the regular agenda, do the public hearing. But I would say, let's see, if there's 50 people here who want to hear about the local laws, then you should probably do it first.
okay. Okay, so, and the local laws are the, we talked about, right. Okay, wait, we're not doing that other piece. Oops, sorry. Just want to make sure. Okay, and finally, we would then go into our regular meeting. As we mentioned, if there are any board resolutions, which at this point we don't know, correspondence and monthly reports. And then we would have visitor recognition on any other item that's not an agenda item, or if people want to continue to comment on the agenda, that's fine. And then adjourn.
Yeah, just on the resolutions, there should be the 2 resolutions that I prepared, the one abolishing the town attorney's position, and the other one retaining our firm to do your general services. And then Christie just pointed out to me, you have approval of minutes of Are there minutes that need to be approved? Because I don't think you have 3 people who are on the board who would have been at, all
That's true.
right, so
Does
those.
that matter? Do you have to have been on the board
Well-
to approve minutes?
Well, yes, you have
You
to,
would have had to attend the meeting.
you have to attend the
I
meeting and
attended.
vote for it.
Okay.
Let me look into that. I'm not
Okay.
sure whether you can vote on it or not. They may have to be on approved minutes, but let me double check.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the question about the MOU, is that going to end up being on this regular meeting?
Well, again.
Oh, we don't have to do-
I don't think you need to do anything further
Got
on it. We'll go over it, make sure everything's in shape with the other agreement that goes with it.
Okay,
I saw that we got some additional comments on that tonight, just before I came here, from one of the attorneys. So once that, looks like it's in good order, I'll go over it with you, and if you're comfortable, you can sign it.
okay, fantastic. So I think that is it for discussing our reorg. Did anybody have any questions about anything for that meeting? All right. In that case, I was negligent in asking a little bit earlier if anybody had any statements that they would like to make at this meeting. If you want to have any announcements, that's fine also. If you want to make announcements, sometimes those are timely and we can't wait for a regular meeting. So if you had any announcements, the only thing that I wanted to mention is that the Junior States of America is hosting another inauguration on January 8th at 3 p.m. at Ossining High School, and the public is invited to attend. So please do, and we have an opportunity for our young people who are going to be turning 18 to register to vote. We, of course, encourage participation in government and your civic responsibility, we believe, is to vote, so we hope that you will all register to vote. Is there anybody else who had any other comments or announcements of any upcoming, Karen, I think you have an upcoming event on Sunday. I don't know if you want to make an announcement about that.
On Sunday at the Ossining Public Library at 2 p.m., there'll be a screening of a documentary film on the Smallholder Farmers Alliance, which is doing a project in Haiti, a reforestation project, and it's Ossining's own Hugh Locke, who's partnering with a Haitian agronomist to create a reforesting program in Haiti, and Timberland has sponsored the documentary, and that will be at 2 o'clock on Sunday, so I encourage everybody to attend.
This announcement is for way further, but it's a save the date. Galata House is having its Ossining Family Fun Day February 19th. So it's just a save the date, so everybody remembers it's going to be at the Westchester County Center where the Westchester Knicks play. And that's going to be in partnership with the Ossining Recreation Department and the Ossining Rotary.
In February also?
Yeah, you
Okay.
know. And Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so anyway, yes, I like to say that. Happy New Year, and once again, thank you for tuning in. Oh, Happy New Year, and once again, thank you for tuning in to our work session, and I now would like to take a motion to go back into executive session to discuss personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And good night.
No.
Oh, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good night.